Today on The Irish Gardener, how to fill your garden pots with colour for Christmas. Now the pots outside my front door, like everybody's during the summer, were full of colour with all the summer bedding plants. But now of course the cold is really setting in and they've been consigned to the compost bin. But I'm not just going to leave my pots empty outside the front door. So I've come down to the local garden centre to see what's there in colour for the pots for the winter months. And I'm delighted to see this plant in particular for two reasons. Number one, it's a heuchera, and I absolutely adore heucheras. This evergreen colour, it's going to fill the pot nicely over the winter, and I love the texture of it. But also, it's important when I see the Bella Bloom label, because that means that this plant has been grown in Ireland. And the importance of that can't be overstated, because if this has been grown outside in a nursery in Ireland, the chances of it surviving outside in my garden is far higher than something which may have been grown in artificial conditions in half continent away and it's travelled in a refrigerated truck to the local garden centre or supermarket. This one stands a much better chance of surviving in the conditions outside my front door. Now, nothing sums up Christmas in the garden quite as much as the holly bush. You've either got the green form here or the variegated. And did you know that you need a male and female holly to get on particularly well in the garden to produce these berries? They don't do it all on their own. Some varieties do, but that's for another day. And this guy here, this is stunning because winter in the garden is all about the berries, isn't it? About feeding the birds and, of course, how they look. This is a marketing story at its best. This is the humble crabapple, or particularly called Malus Red Sentinel. But the nursery that produced it have renamed it, if you like, as the Christmas berry tree. And I think when you look at it like that, it gives a whole new look to it. Now these would look stunning in a pot in the garden, but they're too big for my needs. What I want is somewhere over here. So the plant that I've decided to use in my pot is this. It's a gorgeous little fella, Leucotho scarletta. It's one of these unusual evergreens in that it gives you the seasonal colour. Most plants that give you autumn and winter colour are deciduous and they change colour just before they drop their leaves. This guy is evergreen, so he's going to hold this lovely mahogany red colour right through the winter months and well into next spring. And of course the other joy about using a plant like this is it's going to look lovely in the pot during winter, but then when I want to put the summer bedding in again next year, I can use this guy in my garden, so I'm not going to be throwing him out. So I filled the pot with a good multi-purpose compost. I'm going to take this guy out of this pot, gently tease the roots a small bit, just so they make good contact with the fresh compost when it goes in, into the centre, and there you go. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned, and of course we shouldn't forget, is why not put in some spring bulbs in here as well, so that when Christmas is gone and the winter months are passing, we'll have a lovely spring display coming up. And I'm going with this lovely, it's a West Cork produced daffodil. It's one called Pheasant Eye. And again, going back to plants and things for the garden that have been grown in, produced in Ireland, they are going to stand a much better chance in your garden. So I'm going to just, a good rule of thumb with any bulb that you're planting is you plant about twice the height of the bulb under the ground. So in other words, that side of my bulb, I'll go that and that again. So I'll go about that much under the ground. So you can see I'm not measuring exactly. Gardening can be very forgiving. So I've put in 5 or 6 of them in there. So they'll come up, as I say, probably in about March, and you'll have a lovely display as everything else that I'm using is going over. It's another good foliage plant here. It's one called Calocephalus, and the silver stems is going to combine nicely with the red of the Leucotho. So I put in a couple of them. No need to tease the roots there because the root ball is quite loose already, so that's fine. And in amongst them, it couldn't be Christmas without some red cyclamen. So one red one in there. I could stick with all red, but I think we'll go with some red and white. Again, I just think it's nice and festive, particularly with this black pot. The red and white will be nice. And again, coming back to Irish grown. Do try and source Irish grown plants where possible. Another cyclamen around the back. And another white one. Because of course, one tip when you're planting any pot, be it for summer colour or winter colour, really cram it full of plants. If you think it looks half empty, it does. And it's not like normal gardening, if you like, in that I can't give it time to fill up like I would if I was doing a flower bed. I want an instant impact from this pot. I don't want to wait 3 or 4 months for it to look well. So overfill it. Now I've taken the ivy out of this pot, as you've seen. Don't be scared to just rip it apart. Now I've got 2 ivies. I'm going to put one in the front there between those cyclamen. Let it fall down the side of the pot like that. And I'm going to put one in back here so that wherever I position the pot, just fill in between them with a bit of compost. Wherever I position the pot, whatever angle I'm looking at it from, it's going to look nice and full. Small bit of compost in there around that ivy as well. And really, that's it. Now I think that looks lovely and pretty, but I'm going to have that outside my front door for all through the Christmas months, into the winter, and in the spring, up will come the daffodils. I think that should be nice for the next 6 months.